Welcome to episode one. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. I'm super excited. Choosing a topic was difficult because there's a lot of places we could have started. There's a lot of things that are interesting, and I'm ready and excited to delve in with you guys. But there was one that's blaringly obvious from my patients and from friends, and that's the topic of am I a good mom or I'm not a good mom, which is often what I spend most of my first consults with moms talking about. It is the most common struggle for new moms and even moms having their second, third, fourth baby. Um, when I think about it, I had a patient just last week who has a thriving baby in the car seat in the consult room with us. And I ask her, as I ask most of my moms to gauge where they're at in this arena, I asked her, so, as a mom, where do you rank yourself? One being the worst mom in the world, leaving your baby at home. Will you go find drugs on the street? Two, 10, practically perfect in every way, Mary Poppins. And this was shocking because this mom said she was a 2 out of 10. And she very, without hesitation, said, well, I'm not a mom because I don't abandon my child, but I'm a 2. And I immediately, with most of my moms, unless one of them gives themselves a 9 or a 10, which is super duper rare in a first consult, I say, why? Why are you giving yourself that number? And she said, I don't know what I'm doing. I always feel like I could do more. I feel like things that I'm trying aren't working. I've never been so uncomfortable. And I just know that almost anybody would be a better mom than I am. It kind of broke my heart. I would get a lot of 4s, lots of 6s, but a two is kind of heartbreaking for me to hear somebody who's providing excellent care for their child who feels that way. So let's dive into why this is such a common issue for moms. It's a common issue because you care. You care about what kind of mom you are. When we care about something, it matters to us. It matters to us a lot. When I talk about the 3 pillars of well-being, this pillar is competence. And we only care about being competent or confident or good or the master of things that we care about, that we want to be good at, that matter to us. And being a mother for most moms really matters. They really care about it. They've dreamed of being a mother their entire life. They've made plans. They've imagined outcomes. They've bought clothes. They've made a room. You've envisioned this whole creation, this whole life that you are going to prepare and pull off for this child. I have young moms, I have middle-aged moms, I have older moms, and they all vary in what expectations that they had for being a mom, but most of them really care, and that's why this happens. The second reason that it happens that my moms can feel like they're not a good mom is because of the lack of preparation that almost everybody has for what this change is really like. When you guys think about, let's say, math, when you guys learned math as a child, you first were taught the numbers and their order and what they meant and to count, and then you were taught to add and then multiply, and then it wasn't till high school that they threw algebra at you, and then even later calculus and beyond. And when we think about that, that's years and years from when you're like 3 up to when you're 16, 17, 18 and into college. It's a lot of prep work to get you somewhere. Think about any job you've taken. Usually you get hired, you have a few days of training, and then somebody's watching over you. I think about like the nurses that I've worked with. It's a arduous school, testing, on the job training, then somebody's watching you and supervising you until finally you're allowed to go out and take care of patients on your own. And that's the same in other jobs, just different, but you're given a lot of training before you're ever asked. And then you're given one task. And then once you've mastered that, then they'll load on the other tasks until they see that you're able to do the full job. And with childcare, with becoming a mom, It's nothing like that. You maybe take a prenatal class, you maybe read a few books, then you have the baby, and then the nurse comes in and makes sure that you're able to change the diapers, that you know how to feed. The pediatrician comes in and makes sure the baby's okay and says, "Do you have any questions?" And you don't even know what questions to have. You don't know if you should have questions, and you probably have an endless list, but you're so overwhelmed you don't even know what to ask. And then the lactation consultant comes in if you're breastfeeding, and they help and make sure things are okay. And then your nurse stops by a few more times, and then they say everything's fine, and they send you home with your baby. And then you're in charge. And I remember it like yesterday, when I drove away from the hospital. And when I had my first baby, I was already a fully trained physician. I had finished my residency. I'd even worked almost a full year as an attending. And my husband was also a physician and had also already had a child that was 8 years old. And I still remember as we pulled away from the hospital that I looked back in the back seat at my daughter and looked back in the hospital that was getting smaller, at the hospital that was getting smaller in the distance, and thought, how could they be sending us home? This is wrong. This is wrong. They shouldn't be trusting us with her. It's so overwhelming. They say that the first year of medical school is like trying to learn through a fire hose. And I agree, it was pretty intense. But now that I've done that, and I've done residency, and I've done motherhood, I would say that the first 6 weeks of motherhood are like trying to learn through Niagara Falls. It is so intense, and there is so much that you're trying to take on, and there isn't really time to debrief. There isn't really a stop from one day to the next, and there's just constant things that you need to do. And so when you wonder why you're struggling or why you think that you're not a good mom, those are the first things to think about. First of all, you're struggling because you care. And second of all, you're struggling because there's just so much that is being asked of you and you weren't prepared. So the next thing I think, now that we know kind of why, is to think about what is a good mom. Because how can we even decide if we are a good mom or aren't a good mom if we haven't even established what a good mom was? So the first thing is, in order to define that, we have to figure out where our expectations of what a good mom is, or what we need to be, where that comes from. It's super important. Like, this is one of the most important things that I have to go through with my moms, because unfortunately in today's world, it is really, 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 really easy to have unrealistic expectations. And so to find out if ours are unrealistic, we first have to think about where they're coming from. A lot of my mom's expectations for motherhood come from social media. And I'm starting with that one because that's like the bane of my existence. It's the worst thing, and I think everybody who's listening knows exactly what I'm talking about. Starting from amazing baby showers to the most creative baby announcements to the most beautiful pregnancy pictures. Maybe your gender reveal didn't go well. Maybe you gained 60 pounds in your pregnancy, even though you were just eating the same as you were before. Nothing in your pregnancy is even comparable to the perfection that's on social media. At least that's my experience. Maybe yours is. But just the lead up with pregnancy and then into postpartum, we've all seen the fantastically adorable posts that moms make, that every month their child seems absolutely perfect and healthy and cute, and breastfeeding's going great for them. They look amazing themselves. They're so happy. Their house looks clean in the background of every picture. And they're also already back to work. They've lost all their baby weight, and they make it seem absolutely perfect and flawless. They're actually sewing their Halloween costumes too. If you make your expectations for yourself based on what we see in social media, you're never going to be able to keep up, because we all know that social media is not real. It's a place for people to share things that they are proud of, to share things that make them feel good. But unfortunately, it isn't necessarily the place where there is the most truth or the truth about how they got the picture or how they got there or what they had to do the night before. And so we can have unrealistic expectations of perfection based on something that is a still moment that seems perfect. But we all know, any experienced mother knows that there was no perfection except that still moment. We can also, so we need to think about where our expectations come from, and they should not come from social media. And we can talk more into details about what we might want to do about that, and we can do that later or maybe on a different day. Another place where some expectations come from can be our friends, just, not social media friends, but friends that are actually around us. And some people parent differently and and like I had friends, my closest friend group that I had when I had babies, they were incredible. They were amazing, amazing friends. But it took me several years to stop comparing myself to them. The two closest were incredibly organized and perfect to a T at it seemed everything. Their houses were always cleaned, and their children always dressed perfectly with perfect hair done. I always felt that I was lacking because I couldn't keep up with that. And so I always felt like there was something that I was doing wrong or I wasn't quite good enough and that my children were going to suffer because of that. I don't think they intended that, but because of the priorities and skill sets my friends had, I felt like that's what I needed to be. It can also be just that your friends seem naturally to be enjoying it more than you or loving their child more than you, that it can make you feel guilty or that you're not a good mom. Next, our family can be well intending but set expectations that are unrealistic. And this goes both ways. I have family that is so supportive and understanding, and they actually break down the unrealistic expectations and really support my moms through it. But I have equally, in fact, or more family members, moms, who set a standard that is so high that these mothers can't reach. Who, when the mothers are struggling, say you just have to push through, or you're trying to get attention. That was something that happened to one of my patients last week, which was just devastating. That her mom and partner were feeling like her struggles were just because she was trying to get some attention. So, again, you do not need to know your child's preschool, their elementary school, or their college. You do not need to be having them listen to Baby Einstein. We do not have to have their life planned today. And if your social media, your friends, or your family are making you feel like those are the things that you need to do, we need to realign our expectations with with reality, and with what you actually want to accomplish as a mom. And this is one thing where I really, really like to spend time with my moms before their child comes so that we can actually think about these things. Because there's expectations of what we're going to accomplish with our child, and then there's reality of what your child actually needs from that day that they're born. And the reality is that they need to be fed, first and foremost. And whether it's from the breast or from a bottle, a fed baby is a best. And a healthy mom and a happy mom and a fed baby are all that we need. So the first of all, baby needs to be fed. Second, baby needs to have their diaper changed. There can be some repercussions that I know well, well of, if you get a diaper rash that doesn't go well, and we can talk about that for days too. But a baby needs to be changed. A baby needs to have shelter, and a baby needs to get sleep. And a baby needs contact, which is easily given when you hold your baby to comfort them to sleep or to hold a baby to feed. And those are the basic needs that a baby has. And I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in beyond that we feel like we're not actually being a good mom, when every single mom that has ever walked into my office that ranks themselves a 2, a 4, or a 6 is doing everything that her baby actually needs and doing it really well. And if one part in that, which typically is just feeding or sleep, that is a struggle, they are trying, and they're working with their pediatrician or a lactation consultant or me to try to fix those things. And that means that they are an amazing mom. But when our expectations don't jive with reality, that's when our competence can take a huge hit and we can feel like we are not adequate. So, again, what is the truth? The truth is that almost all moms, pretty much all moms, I want you guys to really listen to that all moms are not just meeting their baby's needs, but they're exceeding them. Because what again are their needs? To be fed, to be changed, to be helped to sleep, to be protected, have shelter, and to get some human contact. And my moms are nailing that. So, again, when I have a patient in my office, like how do I get them to see that? Because it is so hard for them to realize what a good job they're doing. And again, why is it so hard? Because they care so much and because there is so many things to learn and to adjust to during this time. So the first thing is, besides those simple basic needs that you guys are needing, I need you to define your expectations. So if you're listening out there and I know you're meeting those basic needs, I want you to think beyond that and define your expectations for yourselves. So first one should always be meet my baby's needs. Feed, clothe, shelter, get them to sleep, and provide some contact, which is how the baby feels safe and loved. Then what do you want to do beyond that? Are you working towards any goals of being able to breastfeed a certain amount or get your baby to sleep a certain amount? Or are you hoping that you can still be able to spend some time with your husband? So you're working towards goals of sticking to a schedule so that you have some of that time. What are some expectations for you guys as a couple, as a mom, and as a family? And when I say these should be minor ones that I hope that we can continue to go out to eat once in a while. I want to still take a vacation now that we have a baby. I still want to stay in my book club. I want my husband to still be able to do play on his soccer team, whatever things that fit into your family's life. We want to set those as goals for your family, and as with those goals in mind, we can redefine our expectations for what we want to accomplish as moms. I also want you to think about what kind of mom you want to be. Do you want to be a mom that I want to? Do you want to be a mom that connects with their child, that likes to spend time with them, or one that is very organized and makes sure that all their needs are met? Do you want to be a mom that plans fun activities at the house, or do you want a mom that makes sure that they have opportunities outside the house? And you can go on and get deeper into the future of what you hope that your child, what home and life you hope to provide for your child. But I encourage in the beginning to keep this very, very simple, as just what you expect yourself to accomplish every day, and potentially a goal for by a month, by 2 months. And those goals would be, I would really love to be able to go to Target by myself. I would love to go out to dinner with my husband. We want to go see a movie again. Simple goals like that. And that is how we can define our expectations and realize that we are actually doing a great job meeting the needs, and that we are moving towards meeting all of our expectations and throwing out the expectations of others and of social media, etc., etc. The next thing is I really want you guys, I'm going to take you on a journey. If you guys are already parents, or if you're newly parents, or you're pregnant, everybody can take this journey. It's just how amazing the learning experience is going to be, or something that you're going to see in the future if you're pregnant. So I want you, if you've had your baby, and I'm going on the journey with you too, I want you to think of that first day that you left the hospital and you came home. I already told you guys about how I felt that first day that I left the hospital, that I couldn't believe they let me go. And then when I got to my house that I had lived in for years, all of a sudden I was like, how does a baby fit in here? There seemed like there was no place to even set a baby down that would be safe. Even though I had a bouncer and a swing, it just seemed like my child didn't belong. I remember how overwhelmed I felt, how scared I was for that first feeding. Was she going to feed? Was she going to sleep? Was I going to be able to burp? And oh my goodness, I'm the worst burper. I don't feel like I could ever get my children to burp correctly. There was so many things that I felt. How did you guys feel? And if you haven't been there, I'm just warning, it's going to be crazy that first day you go home. But if you've been there, you know how it felt, how overwhelmed and how deficient you felt in the skills that you needed. Then I want you to think about now. I'm obviously a very long ways from the first time I had a baby. Most of my patients are between 4 and 6 weeks, maybe a couple months. I don't know where you're at on your journal. Maybe you're still pregnant, or maybe your baby's a year old. But if you think about that first day home and you think about now, all of you guys, besides the mothers who are still pregnant, can recognize how different you are now. How silly and funny the things that you were scared about seem now. Even if you're just 4 weeks out, you are a lot more skilled. And I've never had a mom say that I was wrong about that. Being worried about diaper changes, and being worried about burping, and being worried about holding your baby, that they're going to break or how fragile they are. You are over those things. You gain those skills. It is night and day different when you think about how you felt then and how you felt now, how you feel now. You have gained so many skills. And how did you gain those skills? You gained those skills because you dug in and you figured it out. This was the thing that I loved most about, well, I can't say that. I loved so many things, but about taking care of people through their prenatal care, delivering their babies, and then seeing them postpartum, because I'd usually see them at delivery. Obviously, I'd see them about 3 weeks when they were right in the middle of the trenches, really struggling, feeling overwhelmed. And then I'd get to see them after at their 6 week visit. And was everything perfect? Absolutely not. But I would see this mother who had been so overwhelmed and so nervous holding her baby, holding her child confidently, and going through the steps one by one, to get them soothed and to calm them. And even if I'm not saying every mother at 6 weeks everything was golden, because it certainly wasn't for me, but it was easy to see the skills that they had gained because of the time they'd put in, because they'd gone through the trenches and they'd come out on the other side. This is very important for you to recognize, because sometimes we forget where we were in order to see where we've come and how much we've accomplished, because there's still so much. And because with a baby, it continues. As soon as you figure one thing out, they grow and change. As soon as you've nailed the 3-hour cycle, then it's time to space them out. As soon as you've got the naps down, it's time to drop one nap. As soon as everything seems perfect, they grow, they have a tooth, and now they're uncomfortable and not sleeping. And that is motherhood. That is raising kids. And that leads me to the last principle that we might talk about today, and that is having a growth mindset to parenting. I don't know if any of you guys have read the book Mindset. If you haven't, you should. It's one of my favorites. We're probably going to do an episode sometime on my favorite parenting books, but this one is not a parenting book at all. It's a book that I listened to just because I'd heard about it from somebody, from a very highly effective person, and it was one of his favorite books. It's by a PhD named Carol Dweck, and she presents two different mindsets in her book. One is a growth mindset, and a growth mindset is the belief that with effort you can get good at anything. The other mindset is a fixed mindset that you're either good or you're not good at any specific task. And in her book, she sets the hypothesis that having a growth mindset is the superior way to find success in life, even compared to somebody who has baseline talents that are above somebody who has a growth mindset. It's an amazing book. She uses great examples. It's a quick read. I listen to it, but she proves her point well. And when I was listening to it, I loved it, and I thought, man, do I have a growth mindset? And I found that in certain aspects of my life I do, but in a lot of aspects I had a fixed mindset. But I realized that what I needed to do with this book was help my parents all have a growth mindset to parenting. That mom who came in to my office and said she was a 2, she really might have had a fixed mindset about how she was a parent, that she was either good or she wasn't, and she had decided she wasn't good. That having a fixed mindset and having it fixed that you are not good is a severe handicap. In fact, it's an obstacle to ever being the type of mom you could be. But if you can have a growth mindset, believing that if you put effort in, that you can become exactly what you want, you can reach and exceed your expectations, that is the key to unlocking everything for yourself. So what does that mean? What does having a growth mindset to parenting means? It means that you believe if you put in effort, you will figure this out. And if you believe what I just told you in our second point, when we compared where you are today, in fact, you are postpartum, to where you were the first day you brought your baby home, you know that through the effort you put in, you did gain skills. So if you really are able to process this, you'll believe that you'll continue to be able to do that. When your baby changes, when your baby grows, and there's something new and different, you will be thrown a loop. And you'll have to say, okay, what am I going to do about this? And instead of feeling negative about yourself or feeling like you don't know what to do, you're going to say, I think I'll try this. Maybe I'll keep her awake for 30 more minutes and then put her down to sleep. Maybe I'll feed her 3 more ounces before I put her down at night. Maybe we're going to try swaddling her again. Maybe we'll use this different passy. You're going to continue and try different things. It might work the first time and it might not, probably not, more likely not, but you're going to try again. Until you figure it out. And I had one mom that I'll never forget who had such extreme anxiety postpartum. She hadn't really ever had anxiety in her life before. And we were working through this process and she was doing really well. And it was when she presented to me that I'm doing well, Dr. Wood, but I'm just so scared about the unknown, because I know that there's going to be something different that my daughter's going to throw at me. So as soon as I get comfortable in what I'm doing now, there's going to be something new. And I like to call that the fear of the unknown, which is real. I have a teenager now, so I'm in a new unknown. Any advice, please send it my way. But when we applied this principle to her, when I was able to convince her of the skills she'd gained and of the fact that if she just tried, she would be able to figure things out, it was amazing what we were able to accomplish. And she eventually was able to not be scared of the unknown because she had confidence in herself. Not that she would figure it out the first time, but that if she kept trying, she would figure it out. So when my moms come back after we talk about some of these principles, how we talk about defining your expectations, how we talk about thinking about what you've accomplished. I also have my patients write down something they accomplish every day in an accomplishment journal so that they can see this. They can literally see where they've come from and where they're going. It's actually pretty comical, the moms that I get before they deliver, for them to look back once they're 6 weeks at the things they first were proud of, being proud of being able to put a diaper on or having their baby burp. And then at 6 weeks, those things seem so silly and simple later on. Not for everybody, but certain ones seem silly and simple. And then trying to apply that growth mindset to parenting. when I get to see them back, I'll ask them again as a mom how they rank themselves. I almost always get a big increase, and I can get most of my moms to rank themselves as an 8.5 or sometimes a 9. And I challenge my moms and say, how come you can't give yourself a 10? And they're like, well, I'll never be perfect. There's always something I could do. And they're right. They're right. There's always something that we could do more for our child. But I had a mom who really took my challenge, and she thought when I said, would you ever give yourself a 10? And I'm going to get emotional again thinking about this, but she said, well, I guess I could give myself a 10 if I know I'm doing absolutely everything I could do and putting all my effort in. I love that because that's all that you have to do as a mom is give effort. Being perfect as a mom equals effort. Being perfect as a mom means never giving up. And that doesn't mean that you don't get frustrated and put down your child and go take a breather in the next room. It just means that you come back and you try again. It means that when the first thing you tried didn't work, that you try something different and try again. Being perfect as a mom just means effort. It just means never giving up. I love that so much. And I know that every single one of you guys is more than just a good mom. You are the perfect mom for your child. And I am here to make sure that you know that. I hope that with today you've understood why we can often feel like we're not good moms, where those thoughts come from, and what the actual truth is. That you're actually meeting your baby's needs, and that if we can divine our expectations, that we can recognize our growth through our accomplishments and the effort that we've put in, and that if we can apply a growth mindset to parenting, that we can be better than we ever expected, and that we can start to feel like we actually are a good mom and that our baby is the luckiest baby to have us. And that is the most great blessing that child can have, is that their mom knows who they are, knows their worth, and is loving them fiercely. Thanks so much for sticking around with us today here at Woman Made Well. I can't wait to hear what you guys think about this episode. Please let me know if there's anything that you guys want added or done differently. And I can't wait to talk to you guys again next time. Have a great day.